wanted to speak a little bit more about certain labels that are placed on people and the context of them. I may mention in a previous audio in regards to me being no longer associated with certain organizations, even though I do support their efforts, I do support their methods because they're highly successful. However, I am not actively involved with the organizations because of some of the protocols that were involved. Sometimes you got to do that, people. And I don't have anything against the organization because they help me. That's why I'm encouraging some of you to, get yourself involved in these organizations if you're suffering from a substance abuse problem. Truly helpful. Doesn't just tackle the abuse. It tackles the reasons behind the abuse. They address life issues. They address relationship issues, getting back on your feet financially. They deal with your mindset and help reprogram you and readjust you back to the society so you can live a fruitful life. It's just that there are certain protocols that they have, as they do with any organizations, where you're required to say certain things, and there's a particular thing in regards to trying to admit that you are something that you're not to help reinforce their brand. I'm not going to lie to people. I'm not going to lie to people. I'm not going to sit there and introduce myself as something that I'm not. That's part of false reality. And I know that's a strong statement for me to say, oh, well, you have to introduce yourself that way in order to promote the brand, because that's what it's doing. That's what it's doing. However, I do wholeheartedly support the methods that are used for sobriety. I believe that if people stick with those methods, stick with stick with the way that it's done, that they will be highly successful in overcoming it. And once you've reached that, you have to keep the mindset that you have overcome. But see, the thing is, there are some people that are partially struggling. And those people that are struggling, they need to be fully delivered. And part of being fully delivered is not going around thinking that monkey is going to keep chasing you the rest of your life. That's not success in my eyes. It's not. Walking on eggshells around everybody and the situation, because the truth is the world is going to exist. There are going to be people who are involved in these activities. There are going to be places that promote some of these activities. And you're going to have the wherewithal to withstand it, but just not associating with it and running from it because you're afraid that you are going to succumb to it. That speaks loads in regards to the level of sobriety that you're on, because it's not very strong. It speaks loads. Now, if you're very happy with not associating with things like that, okay, that's fine. But understand that you're going to be very restricted as to where you go and who you associate with. People, places, and things, I wholeheartedly believe in that, because you can't turn around and say, well, I'm strong enough to hang around with so-and-so and they're still doing it. No, I'm not saying that at all. So please don't get it twisted. And there's not going to be any spiritual osmosis that's going to make that person quit doing it. That's a them decision, not a you decision. But I'm just simply talking about some of the protocols. The mission, wholeheartedly supported. But to turn around and ask me to say something that I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to introduce myself as something that I'm not. Because that gives the impression to the people that are struggling in the room that I'm still struggling, and I'm not. See? We got to be careful of what we say. We may have an idea of what we're meaning when we say it, but we don't know what everybody else's interpretation is. When you're delivering the message, you got to be careful. So what I would do is I would say I used to be, or I was. Nothing wrong with that in my eyes. I think it's cool. But there have been a couple of instances where I was asked to speak, and when I was done that, I was literally attacked verbally by the people in charge of the group that I shouldn't have said that. And I was like, why? Well, that's always a problem. Well, come to find out, when I investigated the people who made those statements, they were still struggling, see? This is why you got to be careful who criticizes you. Pay attention to the messenger sometimes. When they give you unsolicited criticism for no reason, look at how they're living before you take that to heart. Before you even waste a minute getting upset or ready to clap back, look at how they're living first. Because sometimes it's not even worth the response. Now come to find out and there was two instances where I went to speak in two separate situations and share my story. And it was two different groups, two different situations where I was addressed about that after the fact. Now, mind you, the crowd didn't have any problem with it. They enjoyed it and everything else, but the people in charge had an issue. See, wasn't nobody in the audience. It was the people in charge who asked me to come there who had an issue. Then I found out later on that in both instances, the people that were in charge were faking the front to everybody else, and they were still struggling, see? So what do y'all think that is? Do I have to tell you? Yeah, they're green. But they're running an organization, calling themselves trying to help somebody else, and they're still struggling every day. So I didn't get upset. I didn't write any letters or make any statements or go over anybody's head. I just simply didn't go back there no more. And I'm sorry that the group of people have to suffer, but until they come to terms with what they're dealing with, there's nothing I can do. So sometime in the future, I would say a year or so later, I was asked to come back to speak, and I said, I'm sorry, I don't have time in my schedule to accommodate you. And I left it like that. I didn't go into this big brouhaha as to what happened and what was said or anything else. I'll let them figure that out since they're so damn smart. Sometimes you got to do that, people. Sometimes you got to say that you don't have time, you have prior commitments. Sometimes don't even bother, especially if you're dealing with a contrary spirit. These people already got an impression how they're going to handle you and what they think they know about you anyway. So why are you wasting your time even trying to bring up, maybe they need to know. No, if they don't have sense enough to pay attention to their own behaviors while they're doing these things, and you got every 2 seconds, you got to check them on stuff. Don't you get tired of having to check the same person all the time about the same thing? And they hadn't changed their behavior? And that's exactly in the cases of these two instances. These people were not only struggling with their own addictions, they had contrary spirits, very proud and arrogant spirits. So how I look sitting up here trying to tell them, back in the day, See, that's giving power to that negative situation. It's dead and gone. It's dead and gone in my mind. I'm not going to bring it back up fresh and give it power and give that person the impression that they affected me, even though they did at the time, but it's over with. I'm not going to waste my energy with that. Now, if they come back to me later and ask me, well, how come, you with a pure heart and are genuinely concerned, then I will do that. And that should be some of y'all's approach in life. I don't care what you've done in this world. Let me tell you something. If you have done everything you can to change your behaviors in regard to that thing that you've done, and you're living a different life, a better life, a more fruitful life, and have a closer spiritual relationship with your Creator, you ain't got to explain shit to nobody as far as what happened way back when. Because I look at it like this, and I don't care what y'all think, okay, on this regard. I'm just telling you this to make it easy. If someone truly, really, truly cares about you when you're going through some shit, they will be with you when you're going through your shit. They don't show up 10 years and $20,000 later. Not after all the dust is settled. If someone really cares about your shit, they care about you when you're going through it. They walk with you through it. So I'm sorry if I'm not going to sit up here. I'm not going to sit here and lie and pretend. I'm not going to sit there and revisit something that happened long ago that I put to bed. And I'm not going to go around here and say, I'm an addict. I'm an addict. I'm an addict. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm an addict, all right, but it's not for the shit that you think I'm addicted to. See? I'm addicted to my new spirituality. That's what I'm addicted to. I'm addicted to the hard work that I'm putting in to try to make myself financially free. That's what I'm addicted to. I'm addicted to helping other people who took the journey who are taking the journey that I took. That's what I'm addicted to. But I'm not going to go in with a group of people who are suffering what I already suffered through, turn around and say that I'm an addict to give them the impression that I'm still struggling like they're struggling. That's what I refuse to do. Because that's a lie. That's misleading. That's a misconception. And I'm not going to do it just because I want to try to make somebody trust me or try to get a huge group of people to come in or try to get likes and follows. I'm not doing that. I'm not going to pretend to be something that I'm not. So yeah, in a way I am an addict, but not that way. And I'm not going to say that to try to make somebody bring more people into the meetings every single week. Okay? I'm not going to use that as a form of propaganda to encourage people to come out. Okay? There are some people right here, right now, mainstream media, that are taking that one instance of misfortune and that are profiting from it because they've blown the whole situation out of control in order to get people to follow them and to buy their merchandise or buy their material. When the truth is, it wasn't that bad. So the only reason why I mention my struggle is because I know somebody out there is struggling, no doubt about it. But one thing I'm not going to do is I'm not going to sit here and use that as a position to advance, as a way to advance myself. I'm not going to do that. That's self-serving. And as far as trying to explain anything to anybody, the only people I owe anything to are the people who helped me when I was struggling. Those are the only ones I owe anything to. And the people that I brought in this world that suffered as a result, and now that we're communicating and we have a relationship now, that's what I owe. Those are the people I owe. Anybody else, I owe them shit. The people who helped me and the people I brought in this world, those are the only people. If they got a question, they're going to get an answer from me. But anybody else who wasn't around and don't have nothing to say when I was going, oh, no. You're not going to come to me 20 years after the fact and ask me questions. You talking to the wall. And some of y'all have got to stand up for yourself and realize that. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and let you guys go. Peace.